Edmund Spenser, 1552–1599. The Runes of Time. It chanced me on day beside the shore of silver streaming Thamesis to be, nigh where the goodly vellum stood of yore, of which there now remains no memory, nor any little monument to see, by which the Troiler that fares that way, this once was she, may warned be to say. There on the other side I did behold a woman sitting sorrowfully wailing, rending her yellow locks like wiry gold, about her shoulders carelessly down trailing, and streams of tears from her fair eyes forth railing. In her right hand a broken rod she held, which towards heaven she seemed on high to weld. Whether she were one of that Rio's nymphs, which did the loss of some dear low lament, I doubt, or one of those three fatal imps, which draw the days of men forth in extent, or the ancient genius of that city Brent. But seeing her so piteously perplexed, I to her calling asked what her so vexed. Ah, what delight, quoth she, in earthly thing, or comfort can I wretched creature hoe, in whose happiness the heavens inewing, from highest stair to lowest step me draw, and hoe in mine own bowels made my graw, that of all nations now I am forlorn, the world's sad spectacle and fortune's scorn. Much was I moved at her piteous plaint, and felt my heart nigh ruin in my breast, with tender ruth to see her sore constraint, that shedding tears a while I still did rest, and after did her name of her request. Name hoe I none, quoth she, nor any being, bereft of both by fate's vinous decreeing. I was that city which the garland war of Britain's pride delured unto me, by Romain victors, which it won of yore, though naught at all but ruins now I be, and lie in mine own ashes, as ye see. For lame I was, would boot it that I was, sith now I am but weeds and wasteful grass. O vain world's glory and unsteadfast state of all that lies on face of sinful earth, which from their first until their utmost date taste no one hour of happiness or mirth, but like as at the ingate of their birth they crying creep out of their mother's womb, so wailing back go to their woeful tomb. Why then doth flesh, a bubble glass of breath, hunt after honour and advancement vain, and rear a trophy for during death, with so great labour and long-lasting pain, as if his days for ever should remain, sith all that in this world is great or gay, doth as a vapour vanish and decay. Look back who list unto the former ages, and call to count what is of them become. Where be those learnt wits and antique sages, which of all wisdom knew the perfect sum? Where those great warriors which did overcome the world with conquest and of their might and main, and made one mere of the earth and of their reign? What now is of the Assyrian lioness, of whom no footing now on earth appears? What of the Persian bear's outrageousness, whose memory is quite worn out with years? Who the Grek in Liberd now o'ertears, that o'erran the east with greedy power, and left his whelps their kingdoms to devour? And where's that same great seven-headed beast, that made all nations vassals of her pride, to fall before her feet at her behest, and in the neck of all the world it ride? Where doth she all that wondrous wealth now hide, with her own weight down rest now she lies, and by her heaps her hugeness testifies. O Rome, thy ruin I lament and rue, and in thy fall my fatal overthrow, that whilom was, whilst heavens with equal view deign to behold me and their gifts bestow, the picture of thy pride in pompous shew, and of the whole world as thou wast the empress, so I of this small northern world was princess. To tell the beauty of my buildings fair, adorned with purest gold and precious stone, to tell my riches and endowments rare, that by my foes are now all spent and gone, to tell my forces matchable to none, were but lost labour that few would believe, and with rehearsing would me more grieve. High towers, fair temples, goodly theatres, strong walls, rich porches, princely palaces, large streets, broad houses, straight sacred sepulchres, sure gates, sweet gardens, stately galleries, wrought with fair pillars and fine imageries, all those, O pity, are now turned to dust, and overgrown with black oblivious rust. Thereto for warlike power and people's store, in Brittany was none to match with me, that Maenad often did a bifall saw, ne Troynont, though elder sister she, with my great forces might compared be, that stout Pendragon to his peril felt, who in a siege 7 years about me dwelt. Near this Bunker Britness, her mighty host against my bulwarks brought, Bunker that victorious conqueress, that lifting up her brave heroic thought, above woman's weakness with the Romans fought and in field against them thrice prevailed, yet was she foiled when as she me assailed. And though at last by force I conquered were of hardy Saxons and became their thrall, yet was I with much bloodshed bought full dear, and prized with slaughter of their general, the monument of whose sad funeral, for wonder of the world, long in me lasted, for but now to naught through spoil of time is wasted. Wasted it is, as if it never were, and all the rest that me so honoured made, and of the world admired everywhere, is turned to smoke that doth to nothing fade, and of that brightness now appears no shade, but grisly shades as do haunt in hell, with fearful fiends that in deep darkness dwell. Where my high steeples whilom is to stand, on which the lordly falcon wont to tower, there now is but an heap of lime and sand, for the shrike owl to build her baleful bower, and where the nightingale wont forth to power her restless plaints to comfort wakeful lovers, there now haunt yelling mews and whining plovers. And where the crystal Thames wont to slide in silver channel down along the Lee, about whose flowery banks on either side 1,000 nymphs with mirthful jollity were wont to play from all annoyance free, there now no river's course is to be seen, but moorish fens and marshes evergreen. Seems that gentle river for great grief of my mishaps which oft I to him pained, or for to shun the horrible mischief with which he saw my cruel foes me pained, and his pure streams with guiltless blood oft stained, from my unhappy neighbourhood far fled, and his sweet waters away with him led. There also where the winged ships were seen in liquid waves to cut their foamy way, and 1,000 fishes numbered to have been in that wide lake looking for plenteous prey, a fish which they with baits is to betray, is now no lake nor any fish's store, no ever ship shall sail there any more. They all are gone, and all with them is gone. Naught to me remains but to lament my long decay which no man else doth moan, and mourn my fall with doleful derriment. Yet it is comfort in great languishment to be bemoaned with compassion kind, and mitigates the anguish of the mind. But me no man bewaileth, but in game, ne sheddeth tears from lamentable eye, nor any lives that mentioneth my name, to be remembered of posterity, save one that meagre fortune's inury, and time's decay and envy's cruel taught, hath writ my record in true seeming sort. Camden, the nurse of antiquity, and lantern unto late succeeding age, to see the light of simple verity, buried in ruins, through the great outrage of her own people, led with warlike rage. Camden, though time all monuments obscure, yet thy just labours ever shall endure. But why, unhappy wight, do I thus cry, and grieve that my remembrance quite is erased out of the knowledge of posterity, and all my antique monuments defaced? Sith I do daily see things highest placed, so soon as fates their vital thread have shorn, forgotten quite, as they were never born. It is not long since these two eyes beheld a mighty prince of most renowned race, whom England high in count of honour held, and greatest ones did sue to gain his grace. Of greatest ones he greatest in his place sate in the bosom of his sovereign, and right and loyal did his word maintain. I saw him die as one of the mean people, and brought forth on bear. I saw him die, and no man left to moan his doleful fate that late him loved dear. Scarce any left to close his eyelids near, scarce any left upon his lips to lay the sacred sod, or requiem to say. O trustless state of miserable men, that build your bliss on hope of earthly thing, and vainly think yourselves happy then, when painted faces with smooth flattering do fawn on you, and your wide praises sing, and when the courting masker loveth thee, loveth low him true in heart and trusty to you trow. All is but feigned and with ochre dyed, that every shower will wash and wipe away. All things do change that under heaven abide, and after death all friendship doth decay. Therefore whatever man bear'st worldly sway, living on God and on thyself rely, for when thou diest, all shall with thee die. He now is dead, and all with him is dead, save what in heaven's storehouse he upplayed. His hope is failed, and come to pass his dread, and evil men now dead his deeds upbraid. Spite bites the dead that living never bade. He now is gone, the whiles the fox is crept into the hole the which the badger swept. He now is dead, and all his glory gone, and all his greatness vapour to naught, that as a glass upon the water shone, which vanished quite so soon as it was sought. His name is worn already out of thought. Nay, any poet seeks him to revive, yet many poets honoured him alive. Ne doth his careless calling flute care now his idle bagpipe up to raise, ne tell his sorrow to the listening rout of shepherd grooms which want his songs to praise. Praise whoso list, yet I will him dispraise, until he quit him of this guilty blame. Wake, shepherd's boy, at length awake for shame. And whoso else did goodness by him gain, and whoso else his bounteous mind did try, whether he shepherd be or shepherd swain, for many did, which do it now deny, awake to his song a part apply, and I, the whilst you mourn for his decease, will with my mourning plaints your plaint increase. Thus, having ended all her piteous plaint, with doleful shrike she vanished away, that I through inward sorrow vexen faint, and all astonished with deep dismay, for her departure had no word to say, but sate long time in senseless sad affright, looking still, if I might, of her half-sight. Which, when I missed, having looked long, my thoughts returned grieved home again, renewing her complaint with passion strong, for wrath of that same woman's piteous pain, whose words recording in my troubled brain, I felt such anguish wound my feeble heart, that frozen horror ran through every part. So in lie grieving in my groaning breast, and deeply musing at her doubtful speech, whose meaning much I laboured forth to wrest, being above my slender reason's reach, at length my demonstration me to teach. Before mine eyes strange sight presented were, like tragic pageants seeming to appear. I saw an image all of massy gold, placed on high upon altar fair, that all which did the same from far behold, might worship it, and fall on lowest stair. Not that great idol might with this compare, to which the Syrian tyrant would have made the holy brethren falsely to have prayed. But the altar on the which this image stayed was, O great pity, built of brick or clay, that shortly the foundation decayed, with showers of heaven and tempests worn away. Then down it fell, and low in ashes lay, scorned of every one which by it went, that I it seeing dearly did lament. Next unto this a stately tower appeared, built all of richest stone that might be found, and nigh unto the heavens in height appeared, but placed on a plot of sandy ground. Not that great tower which is so much renowned, but for tongues' confusion in holy writ, King Ninus' work might be compared to it. But O vain labours of terrestrial wit, that build so strongly on so frail a soil, and with each storm does fall away and flit, and gives the fruit of all your travails toil, to be the prey of time and fortune's spoil. I saw this tower fall so dainty to dust, that nigh with grief thereof my heart was brust. Then did I see a pleasant paradise, full of sweet flowers and daintiest delights, such as on earth man could not more devise, with pleasures choice to feed his cheerful sprites, not that which Merlin by his magic sleights made for the gentle squire to entertain his fair Belphoebe could this garden stain. But O short pleasure bought with lasting pain, why will hereafter any flesh delight in earthly bliss and joy in pleasures vain, since that I saw this garden wasted quite, that where it was scarce seemed any sight, that I which once that beauty did behold, could not from tears my melting eyes withhold. Soon after this a giant came in place, of wondrous power and of exceeding stature, that none durst view the horror of his face. It was he mild of speech and meek of nature, not he which in despite of his creature with railing terms defied the Jewish host, might with this mighty one in hugeness boast. For from the one he could to the other coast stretch his strong thighs and the ocean overstride, and reach his hand into his enemy's host, but see the end of pomp and fleshly pride, one of his feet unwares from him did slide, that down he fell into the deep abyss, where drowned with him is all his earthly bliss. Then did I see a bridge made all of gold, o'er the sea from one to the other side, withouten prop or pillar it uphold, but like the coloured rainbow arched wide, not that great arch which Trajan edified, to be a wonder to all age ensuing, was matchable to this in equal viewing. But what boots it to see earthly thing, in glory or in greatness to excel, sith time doth greatest things to ruin bring, this goodly bridge, one foot not fastened well, can fail, and all the rest down shortly fell. Ne of so brave a building aught remained, that grief thereof my spirit greatly pained. I saw two bears as white as any milk, lying together in a mighty cave, of mild aspect and hair as soft as silk, that savage nature seemed not to have, nor after greedy spoil of blood to crave. Two fairer beasts might not be elsewhere found, although the compassed world were sought around. But what can long abide above this ground, in state of bliss or steadfast happiness? The cave in which these bears lay sleeping sound was but earth, and with her own weightiness upon them fell, and did unwares oppress that full great sorrow of their sudden fate. Henceforth all world's felicity I hate. Much was I troubled in my heavy sprite, at sight of these sad spectacles forepast, that all my senses were bereaved quite, and I in mind remained sore aghast, distraught twixt fear and pity, when at last I heard a voice which loudly to me called, that with the sudden shrill I was appalled. Behold, said it, and by ensample see, that all is vanity and grief of mind. Any other comfort in this world can be, but hope of heaven and heart to God inclined, for all the rest must needs be left behind. With that it bade me to the other side, to cast mine eye where other sights I spied. Upon that famous river's shore there stood a snowy swan of heavenly hue, and gentle kind as ever fowl afore, a fairer one in all the goodly crew. Of white Stramonian brood might no man view, there he most sweetly sung the prophecy of his own death in doleful elegy. At last, when all his morning melody he ended had, that both the shores resounded, feeling the fit that him forewarned to die, with lofty flight above the earth he bounded, and out of sight to highest heaven mounted, where now he is become an heavenly sign. There now the joy is his, here sorrow is mine. Whilst thus I looked, lo, adown the lea, I saw an harp strewn all with silver twine, and made of gold and costly yeri, swimming that whilom seemed to have been the harp on which Dan Orpheus was seen, wild beasts and forests after him to lead, but was harp of Felicities now dead. At length out of the river it was reared, and borne above the clouds to be divined, whilst all the way most heavenly noise was heard, of the strings stirred with the warbling wind, that wrought both joy and sorrow in my mind. So now in heaven a sign it doth appear, the harp well known beside the northern bear. Soon after this I saw on the other side a curious coffer made of Heban wood, that in it did most precious treasure hide, exceeding all this baser world's good, yet through the overflowing of the flood it almost drowned was, and done to naught. That sight thereof much grieved my pensive thought. At length, when most in peril it was brought, two angels down descending with swift flight, out of the swelling stream it lightly caught, and twixt their blessed arms it carried quite above the stream of any living sight. So now it is transformed into that star, in which all heavenly treasures locked are. Looking aside, I saw a stately bed, adorned all with costly cloth of gold, that might for any princess couch be read, and decked with dainty flowers, as if it should be for some bride her joyous night to hold. Therein a goodly virgin sleeping lay, a fairer white saw never summer's day. I heard a voice that called far away, and her awaking bade her quickly dight, for lo, her bridegroom was in ready ray, to come to her, and seek her love's delight. With that she started up, with cheerful sight, when suddenly both bed and all was gone, and I and languor left there all alone. Still as I gazed, I beheld where stood a knight, all armed upon a winged steed, the same that was bred of Medusa's blood, on which Dan Perseus, born of heavenly seed, the fair Andromeda from peril freed. Full mortally this knight wounded was, that streams of blood forth flowed on the grass. Yet was he decked, small joy to him alas, with many garlands for his victories, and with rich spoils which late he did purchase, through brave achievements from his enemies. Fainting at last through long infirmities, he smote his steed, that straight to heaven him bore, and left me here his loss for to deplore. Lastly I saw an ark of purest gold, upon a brazen pillar standing high, which the ashes seemed of some great prince to hold, enclosed therein for endless memory of him whom all the world did glorify. Seemed the heavens with the earth did disgrace, whether should of those ashes keeper be. At last meseemed winged foot Mercury, from heaven descending to appease their strife, the ark did bear with him above the sky, and to those ashes gave a second life, to live in heaven where happiness is rife, at which the earth did grieve exceedingly, and I for dole was almost like to die. L'Envoi. Immortal spirit of Felicities, which now art made the heavens' ornament, that whilom wast the world's chiefest riches, give leave to him that loved thee to lament his loss by lack of thee to heaven hent, and with last duties of this broken verse, broken with sighs to deck thy sable hearse. And ye fair lady, the honour of your days, and glory of the world, your high thoughts scorn, vouchsafe this monument of his last praise, with some few silver droppings tears to adorn, as ye be of heavenly offspring born. So unto heaven let your high mind aspire, and loathe this dross of sinful world's desire.